Hi, FlossTube. Welcome to episode 1 of the Stitch Folk podcast. And my name is Barry, and today I'm going to give you a little history about my background and show you some reproduction charts I've been working on, some up and coming things, and my goal today is to get comfortable talking to a camera. So I'm working on that. It's also the last day of my 50s. Tomorrow I turn 60, July 21st. So today is July 20th. I'm here in San Diego, California. I was born and raised here, but I did spend 20 years up in Whidbey Island in Washington State. Moved up there with my 3 daughters, met and married my husband. We've been married for 12 years. His name's Hairston, goes by Dwayne, or Sweetie, or Honey, Darling. Sounds a little weird to say his names. we have a lot of pet names. And anyway, my mom is still here in the house I grew up in San Diego, or in Solana Beach. My brother and his family. So family's here. My 3 daughters are out in the world. I have 41-year-old Amber, who's in Ohio, and 30-year-old Julia, who is also in Ohio. She's going to college, and she and Amber live on the Ohio-Indiana border, near there. And then my middle child, Olivia, lives in Las Vegas, and they're fantastic. So really grateful mama of three beautiful kids, or adults. I was always told, you're not raising kids, you're raising adults. So anyway, my history is mainly in sewing. I'm a new cross stitcher. I've only been cross stitching for about 2 years, but sewing I've been doing for a lifetime. I wake up thinking about it, go to sleep thinking about it, thinking processes usually, and what am I making next. I believe that I sew because it's always made sense, and it's so enjoyable and satisfying. I have made everything from stuffed teddy bears to quilts, clothing. I did home dec for a number of years. I made Waldorf dolls for almost 20 years, and that was my previous business. And I'll show pictures of those at some point. And when COVID hit, I started making masks, and I made thousands and thousands of masks. And then I just was burned out. So as fall was approaching in 2020, I reached out to my longtime friend Kelly, who happened to be he was the maid of honor at my wedding. And he introduced me to cross stitch. I said I needed something that I could sit in a chair and just do with my hands and not at the machine. And I dove in so fast and head first. And so he and I, he introduced me to all the linen and the flosses and the designers, and just the myriad of options that we have. I dove hard. I didn't dive hard. I fell hard. That's what I did. Sorry. Getting used to this. And almost 2 years later, I'm in love with it. It's just been the best thing. And then the icing on the cake are you guys. The whole, not FlossTube, but the stitching world is the most generous, kind, amazing women and men that I've ever known. And I'm just incredibly grateful to be part of this tribe. So thanks for having me. Anyway, as you know, I own Stitch Folk. I'm a project bag maker. I do other little things I have some things coming up that I'm looking forward to showing you. They're just not fully formed yet, or the prototypes are underway. I do all my own sewing. I do have my husband tracing some applique. He did some cutting. He's fantastic. If we can put a monster movie on, he'll basically do anything at a table for me. So don't have him at the machine. Probably isn't going to happen. But bag making has been is such a joy. I am always thinking of what's the next step? What do I want to do next? And this is like right now I'm working on the tomato pincushion applique bags, and there are a lot. There's a lot of them. I thought I would get a number of, quite a few orders. I got way more orders than I expected. So, but they'll all be out in time, and it's magical. My mom told me when I was young that ubiquitous question that we ask kids about what they want to be when they grow up. And one of the things I said at some point was that I just want to make stuff and people will buy it. And I've been pretty fortunate that that's kind of been the case. So thanks to you. I really appreciate it. I get to stay home and play in my sewing room. And I get to buy a lot of fabric. And I will be showing some Christmas stuff coming up later on. But first, I want to go through the reproduction charts that I've been working on these last couple years. Some are well underway, most aren't. There's a lot more things that I have started that won't be shown here today, but these have my heart. I love Blackbird, I love Plum Street and Brenda Gervais and that kind of country sampler style. Absolutely love it. That's also my quilting style, is the type of things we see at Country Sampler. But reproduction charts between Hands Across the Sea, GGR, Reflet de Soie, they really touch my heart and make my heart sing. So I'm going to have a drink of my tea and let's get started. I did make some notes because I knew enough. I don't remember it all. I mean, it hasn't all set in who does what. So I'm going to start off with Martha Pudsey by the Scarlet House. Not everything is in one of my bags. I do have a lot of these bags too. So Martha Pudsey is this gorgeousness. Oh, just that border. I love borders. I also really like anything confetti. Kind of got a big confetti happy. So Martha Pudsey, I'm stitching her on 40 count vintage cedar plank. And this is, I've got the double border. No, I've just got the single border and got the bottom started. So, oh, so pretty, so pretty. And I'm stitching her in NPI and absolutely loving it. So I don't have a Brenda here, so the pile's gonna grow. The next one I have is Bridget Power. I saw her completed in February when I was at the attic. Tanya Kleckner? Tanya, I don't remember your last name. Tanya had it completed and had called for a DMC. And so this is Bridget Power. And that vase of flowers, and I don't know all the terminology, but I know they're curtains of some kind, drapes and whatever that building is at the bottom, and the vines, just gorgeous. So I'm stitching this in, I have it in one of my bags. I'm stitching this with the called for DMC. And Bridget Power is being stitched on 40 count needle and flax. They're her dirty teacup, which is the perfect model. I love mottled fabric, and I don't know that you can get better than dirty teacup, but this is what I've done so far. Every one I pick up, I'm going to want to get started on again. It's just the nature of stitching, isn't it? When you're so inspired by them all. And then next, I have Jane Hopkins. Jane Hopkins, when I first saw that chart, I couldn't buy it fast enough. I did order the 103s from the attic and the fabric that goes with it. And I am stitching Jane Hopkins on 40 count vintage sand dune. But again, that bouquet and just those colors and the confetti, absolutely stunning. So let me show you her. I have her in I keep the bags that I decide not to put up because they don't, maybe they don't resonate with how I want to have my bags look. So yeah, I made that, but it's just a bag. So here's how far I am on Jane Hopkins, just getting into that bouquet. Oh, and I just stitching with 103s on either 40 count or 46 count overdyed linen. Just that's my sweet spot, absolute sweet spot. So this is the one, this next one is Ann Thomas by Hands Across the Sea. If there was a chart I wanted to have completed by the end of the year, it would be this one. I don't see it happening. My business has gotten in the way of my stitching time in a big way. So this is Ann Thomas. I know she's been seen by everyone far and wide. That confetti stitching, again, just absolutely thrills me. I'm stitching Ann Thomas on 40 count vintage exemplar by Lakeside. I might have some of these folded with the stitching on the outside. We won't tell anybody, right? But oh my goodness. Yeah, I gotta keep this one out and get started on her again. But yeah, that confetti stitching just, and even the over one, that's the first time I'd done over one and absolutely loved it. Yeah, she's staying out. Need to work on her. So the next one that I've got here is Mary Wigglesworth, another Hands Across the Sea. Now Mary's Wigglesworth. I'm stitching her on 46 count creme brulee by Tabby Cat, and I'm using the called for 103s, 103 silks. I love this, using the floss off the spool. It just is a really enjoyable way to stitch. So I will get this, I promise. So Mary Wigglesworth, not only is her name just delicious, but anything with all those reds and greens, just so yummy. So again, I'm stitching her on the 46 count Tabby Cat. I'm sorry, 46 count creme brulee by Tabby Cat. I don't have much started on her, but there's my little beginning. May find that, there we go. I don't yet have a standard on where I start. I have done all the corners, done borders first. I've only started in the middle on one, and I don't have that one with me at this point. This next one is Sarah Needham, and Sarah Needham touches everything as far as the color palette that I love. And I think that it would be, I don't know, maybe considered a little, is it like a naive color palette? It's I love a play on the primary colors, and this one just hits it with the shades of blue and yellow and red, and then those ochres and greens in the grass. That border is just, it gets me. It just gets me. I'm not going to show all the flosses that I'm using, but anyway, this one is done in the called for DMC, and I am stitching Sarah Needham on 40 count vintage bisque by Lakeside Linens. So, oh, I don't have anything to put behind it. It's all right. I'm going to show you I have the border is, I got the border all the way around, and then there is some over one in the words, and that is that a cartouche? Is it a frame? I'm not sure what it. But reds and pinks and baby blues and yellows and ochre, and yeah, I have to leave this one out too. I'll be saying that more and more. And then this one has my heart. I absolutely love this one. This is in a bag I made sometime last year with Kathy Holden's Flea Market Fancy, or one of her flea market fabrics. So this is G Leger, and G Leger is that alphabet, that I love French reproduction samplers. Their alphabets are so swirly and curly-cuey. I'm sure that's a word. So I'm stitching G Leger on 40 count, what I think might be Picture This Plus. Heartland maybe? I am stitching her using Lisa Smith's Kindred Stitchers overdyed cotton conversion. She has it available. I emailed her and she sent it to me. I think she also has a photo of it on Instagram. It's really beautiful. I love the choices that she made, and she has really amazing notes with it. Yeah, so I'm only this far, but that top, this is the top border is where I learned that not everyone, just looking at it, you would think it's even, and it was not even. Not even. What's that called? Not symmetrical. Where it follows a pattern, but the pattern is also off on occasion. So I learned now from this one to read ahead, so double check. So I'm sure I have a lot more to learn. That was a really good learning chart to work on. So absolutely love that one. So this, I want to show you this bag first. My friend Kelly, that I've mentioned and will mention over and over, my birthday last year, he took the chart that French General put up on their website, stitched it on 46 count. It's a fox and rabbit, I can't remember the name. Eucalyptus, can't remember the name. Then he put it in a patchwork bag. He built a patchwork bag around it. And that was and the fabric is Jardin de Fleur by French General. And he used the fabric from that line and the chart that they made for that line. In this bag, I have Elizabeth Furness and Krista Kramer was stitching her on 40 count, what is that called? Vintage Country Mocha. I'd never stitched, that was the first fabric I bought was Vintage Country Mocha, but then I saw that it was a printed fabric and I thought, nah. But she was stitching it on, I was snobby right from the beginning. Stitching it on Vintage Country Mocha with DMC, and it was stunning, absolutely stunning. So I have got my Vintage Country Mocha out, and I started it. I've got the border all the way around, so I'm not going to pull that up, but oops, is that the right way? There we go. But and this one started in the lower right corner, and I do have the upper right corner also started. This fabric is a joy to stitch on, especially since there's going to be some over one. It's because it has never been washed, it hasn't shrunk. It's super easy, and I'm a convert. I absolutely love this Vintage Country Mocha, and I love Elizabeth Furness. I want to leave her out too. And I love that bag that I have it in. So this one I want to say I've bailed on, but I haven't done well with. This is in a bag that I made for Laura Duet's birthday start on January 1st. And the chart is Elizabeth Isles by the Scarlet Letter. Yeah, those colors. Oh, and that bird. You all know. I mean, she's just, I know we've all been seeing her bandied about. So I'm stitching her with a Verissois. All those beautiful colors. I do also have Almond M&M's Silk Pack for the skin tones, which I will be doing the angels in a variety of skin tones. And I'm stitching her on 40 count Brea by Needle and Flax. Well, and I've got, let's see, I have a border done. Guess I stitched borders first on this one. Yeah, so it's ready. It's like, you know, I got the outline. Now I can color it in. But this fabric is stunning, and these flosses are delicious. So that's Elizabeth Isles. And then the Red Deer Sampler. Every time I watch Carol's videos, Carol Saltbox Stitcher, and that red deer is behind her, mouth-watering. So I'm stitching a Red Deer Sampler on, this is by GGR. I'm stitching it on vintage cedar plank, 40 count. And there's the, just every inch of it is so beautiful, so beautiful. I originally did start this with the called for, whatever it called for. I didn't care for it though. I was really kind of disappointed in the red that I was putting in the border. So I called the Attic, because they're the magic makers, and I ordered the silk conversion that they have, the fancy flosses. And yeah, I'm much happier with it now. I haven't gotten very far, but I also really like vintage cedar plank. But this is where I am on that. Lower right hand corner for this one. Those colors on this tone of fabric, absolutely love that. I have to leave that one out again. Not again. I have to keep that one out. Everyone needs a Brenda, by the way. So, but don't have one today. I'll be my own Brenda. So this last one is Webb. Last one that I've got started that I'm going to show today. Webb also with it's the pinks, I think, pinks and reds and shades of green. And who doesn't want two goats on their chart or on their sampler? Love those goats. So Webb, I think I'm stitching her on. I actually don't remember what I'm stitching her on. I don't have her on my list, but I'm pretty sure that it's a 46 count, and I don't know what. I don't have the edge of the fabric, so I can't tell. You can normally tell by the selvage, but I don't know what I'm stitching it on. And I'm using the called for 103s. Love those colors, reds and pinks, reds, pinks, and greens, and those acid greens that have that yellow tone. I have the flosses in a kind of a I don't say pretend bag. A bag I was thinking about doing for spools, but this isn't it. This is just a prototype that I'm not going to continue with. I have another bag started. I have a couple finished ones, but I haven't produced any yet, so hopefully they'll be seen in the future. So those are the reproduction samplers. Some of them. I have more that I have some work done on. They're the ones I've started that I would like to continue with. I have a few probably that I won't continue with. And then I have Blackbird and Brenda Gervais, Lottie Da. I have a whole bunch of other ones. I'm almost done with the Redbird sampler by Brenda Gervais that's floats my boat in a big way. So the next thing I want to show you is my new starts that I have. I have a couple coming up. Tomorrow for my birthday, my friend Kelly and I will be starting Winter Rose Manor. It's been on both of our lists for a long time. I don't know if I can say a long time. I've been stitching for 2 years. And it's only been available to us for a couple years maybe. So Winter Rose Manor. And I'm going to stitch her pretty close to what the called for are. Definitely doing the house pink. But I am going to change the white because Roasted Marshmallow is very yellow. And I'm stitching her on 40 count. I have a very large piece here, I need to cut it down, but 40 count Navy Bean by Lakeside. So yeah, I think I'm oh, I have one more to add to this, but that Roasted Marshmallow's way too yellow, so I will be changing that. So I'm starting that tomorrow. It's been a long time coming again. How, when you've only been stitching a couple years. I guess that it's a long time in relation to how long I've been stitching. And then my friend Grace, who is the Paisley Stitcher, she's my local person, and we traveled to the attic together. We just went in June. We'll be going again in August. And she drives, I passenger, and we laugh and laugh. And then we eat at Cracker Barrel because I don't have Cracker Barrel here in California. And we're Cracker Barrel people, apparently. But Grace's birthday is 2 weeks after mine. And so that midpoint between our birthdays is July 28th. And we're going to stitch Rachel Howells together. And it's kind of like the pinnacle of reproduction charts. I don't have my fabric chosen, which I have a lot to choose from, thank goodness, but I am using the called for NPI, and pretty certain I'll be stitching on a 46 count. So I'll report back on that. And so I've been fortunate, very, very fortunate to have met just amazing women, mostly women. I think the only guy I know in the stitching world is my friend Kelly and his husband John. So I'm just the generosity and kindness of the whole stitching community. I mean, I have not found one that doesn't fall in those categories. Anyway, I'm very, very grateful to be part of this group, and I've had the fortune of going to the attic now 3 times. I went last August for summer school. That was my first retreat, so that's set the bar high, definitely. And then I went again in February for a gathering of amazing women. I think maybe 25 of us. And then I went in June to the attic to see, what's it called? The Bristol Weekend. I went to the Bristol Weekend and with Grace and 80 other women, and learned so much. I don't have my red sampler here. I have Louisa Coolmore also. I do have a red sampler underway. I'll show her next time. But the Bristol weekend was really the learning, the education behind the George Mueller School and these children that use this, these skills to take into their adulthood was eye-opening. And to see these charts now and to realize that they could be life-changing for these girls. Well, they're life-changing for me now. So anyway, I'm going to have a drink of my tea, and then I'm going to show you some things coming up for Stitch Folk bags. I'm going to be working on the tomato pincushion project bags for the next 4 to 6 weeks. There was a lot of them. And then Christmas in July bags are now Christmas in July in September. And I'm going to show you some fabrics that I'll be using for those. This represents some of the Christmas in July and September that I'll be doing. And then I plan on doing an autumn applique bag. I'm thinking pumpkins. It might be an acorn situation. I'm not sure. I have a couple of drawings that I'm playing around with, but I want something with those fall colors that we're all super drawn to, and I know that everybody's waiting for the weather to cool off, and fall is an indication that that is coming. So then I would like to do a Christmas bag. Right now I'm playing around with a wreath. It's not going to be a snowman. It's not going to be a tree, but I'm thinking either a wreath or I want something nature oriented. I was thinking like a present stack, but and if you have an opinion about what you'd like to see on a Christmas bag, I am open to suggestions. I'm not going to do a Halloween one this year. I may do one next year. I do have some ideas for that too, but let's do fall and then Christmas. So I'm going to show you some of the bags I'm going to use, I'm going to show you some of the fabric that I have slated for some Christmas, just traditional project bags. So the first line is Kathy Holden's Christmas Fair, and it's all based on the ephemera fabric. The images come out of these these images. The ephemera, the other prints are based on a lot of the ephemera graphics in this fabric. So I have a few favorites in here, specifically this one. That I really, really like that. And then there's a tree with some red cap mushrooms, which I really enjoy. So that fabric is paired with, these two are kind of standouts. They are in the same line, have the same feel sort of in that same era, but they kind of hang out together. This is a Christmas Carol print that goes with them as well. And then mainly I got these for the colors, but it's just vintage sayings on them. But this aqua tealy color and red and cream, gotta have red and cream in there. And then the last two in that line that I got, there are more fabrics, so it's just the ones I got, are this Christmas tree with those mushrooms, and just the color on that. But I love a red cap mushroom. When I was making Waldorf dolls, all those mushrooms and gnomes and fairies and all of those came into play a lot. So, and then this is the cream background. So I'll be making vinyl front bags and the fully lined bags using these. There will be, I have a a lot of the graphics from the ephemera fabric already cut out and ready to go on felt. I use 100% wool felt, and I do an applique, and I make a patch that then I put on a bag. I did a lot of that with French General fabrics, and I have a lot more planned. I have some French General Christmas fabric that I'll also be making bags for Christmas in July and September. Then the other line that I have, I fell in love with mainly because of this print. And this is by Edita Cedar, whose laundry basket quilts. Let's see if I get it right side up. It doesn't scream Christmas with the swallows and those colors. And I think there's some pine cones. Yeah, holly and raspberry or blackberries, acorns. And it has that rich green and those deep reds on a cream background. Yeah, it speaks my language. So the one in the same color palette that is a companion fabric is the red pine cones with the green boughs and that same cream background. And then I have that same fabric in green. And then this one also doesn't scream Christmas, but it's in the same line. I don't sew with a lot of green, but this is rich and I just, I'm looking for another adjective and I can't find one. It even has shades of pink, and I just think it'll make really gorgeous project bags. So the other things, the last few things is I have some ideas for some pin cushions, and then some, what do we call it? I want to say fabric bling, not fabric bling, project bag bling. Using these kind of same images, doing some thread ring, floss rings, scissor fobs, zipper pulls. I have a fabric kind of flowery brooch thing I'm working on that you could pin to a bag or your sweater. It's done with fabric and felt. And yeah, I just have because when I'm sewing, I have a lot of thinking time because my hands are busy, not my brain. So I'm either listening to books on tape, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm watching FlossTube or other YouTube videos. So I have a lot of time to think up what's next. And I really enjoy that process. And then I start pulling things out and piles happen, and also makes me really happy. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining me, and I expect to be back in 2 weeks with some progress on one of those, at least one of those charts. I'll do some, I have some prototypes I would like to show you for a couple of other items that I'm making. One of the other things that's happening in the future that I'll touch on then is, or I'll give a little more details, is I have a website I'm working on. And so I can move from Etsy to a website, which then would provide you with just more access to what I'm working on, more access to me. I can be found at Stitchfolk on Instagram, and I'm Stitchfolk Shop on Etsy, and then my website will be stitchfolk.com. It's just not available to, there's nothing you can see at this point, but that way I can have a mailing list. And for those that don't use Instagram, I do get, when people ask me about upcoming, can they get on a list? I don't really have a list. I don't keep a list of things that you might be interested in. But this will allow me to move in that direction. And for women or people that don't use Instagram, that's kind of where they find out about what I'm making, and this way they can be on a mailing list instead. So anyway, thank you again for joining me, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.